Alright, in this video I'm going to show you a couple of options for moving your sprite around the screen, and that movement will be determined by the player of your game, and not normally what we've done is have the sprite move automatically. Well, now we're going to have the person playing the game tell the sprite where to go. I'm going to show you two different ways. One is using the mouse and the other is using just the keys. So it's entirely up to you. It depends very much on the effect that you would like to have in the game. So we're going to start with the mouse. So I'm in a section called Sensing, and the only reason I'm here, there's a lot of interesting things here, which we can we'll talk about later, such as when your sprite is touching another sprite or touching a color or things like that. So what we're going to do is we are going to use the mouse X and mouse Y options. So I'm going to drag these out here. And we're going to go to motion because that's what we want to do, is we want to have our mouse move. We want to have it glide in the direction of mouse X and mouse Y. So that's what I'm going to plug into my XY coordinates. Remember how we put random in here? Well, now we're going to put our mouse X and mouse Y in here. Now I could hit the flag, and what it would do is it would glide to wherever my mouse is, but it only does that once. We'd actually like for that to do that forever. So we're going to use our forever block, which we used in our art projects. So we're going to stick this, oops, these things like to snap together, which is good. We're going to put our forever block here. So now I'm going to click the flag, and our bug goes towards the mouse. Now that doesn't look so great, does it? Because it's going like sideways and it doesn't really look like it's following the mouse. So there's an option under motion called point in direction, and that's what we want to do. So, but we don't want to point in the direction of 90 degrees or 180 degrees. Those are pretty boring, and we would have to do some math to figure out which direction it's going on the screen. So we don't want to do that. Instead of using point in direction, there's actually point towards, and this has the option, you can't see it, but it'll point towards the mouse pointer. So we don't need this point in direction anymore. We'll take that off. That's useful for, if you want it to face left or right or up or down specifically, but in this case we want it to follow our mouse pointer, and we want it to look like it's following it. So that's one way to have your players, drag your sprite around the screen. So let's hit the flag and see what that looks like. So that looks a little bit better. Our bug is following our mouse pointer around the screen, so you could imagine that someone is guiding this bug through collecting something on the screen, or maybe through a maze, although for a maze I think using the keys is usually a better option. Okay, so that is using the mouse pointer, so let's stop that. So now a slightly more difficult option in terms of programming is to use your different keystrokes. So I'm going to get rid of all of this code for the mouse. We have this when space key is pressed, and that we could use for something. We'll maybe use it for jumping or something like that. But you can see we have all these up arrow, down arrow, right arrow, left arrow, and space, and then all the letters. And some people have used the letters for different things. I'm going to stick with the arrow keys. So we're going to have to drag 4 of these over because we have 4 directions that we can go, right? So we're going to use the down arrow, the right arrow, and the left arrow. So typically, when you click the up arrow, you're going to want to go up the screen. And when you click the down arrow, you're going to want to go down. And when you click the right arrow, you're going to go to the right, and the left arrow when you go to the left. So we have options for that. We can use our change X, or change Y. Those are usually pretty useful. You can also use steps for left and right. I like to use X and Y just because you use the same ones for each one. So if we're going to the left, we're going to change X by -10. If we're going up, we're going to change Y by +10. If we're going down, we're going to change Y by -10. And if we're going to the right, we're going to change X by +10. So what should happen is when you click your right arrow, so I'm going to the right, hooray, and now I'm going to the left, and now I'm going up. You can just hold the keys down and it continues to do those actions. 10 is usually a good number to use, but if you want those movements to be a little bit bigger, let's try changing X to 20. So that can be a little bit better, or you might want to make it smaller if you want them, if you're in a really small maze or something like that. So that's moving with your arrow keys. Now, as I mentioned, another thing that you might want to do is use the space key to jump. Now, the way that you create jumping is really going up and then coming back down. So you change Y by 10, and in this case you want to wait. Remember how the movement doesn't look quite right if you do them all immediately together. So let's give the space bar a try. I click away from that. So it goes up and comes back down, but that's not very dramatic. Let's try doing more like 40 -40. So now let's press our space bar. Ah, that looks better. You could change the weight. You could make it a little bit longer. You could also have the X change a little bit when they jump so that they jump up and over, so that as they jump they go over, and that's not very dramatic either. So let's make this a little bit bigger, so up and over, so it would jump across the screen. And you could change those dimensions, and there are people that have done some things very nicely that have made this look even more realistic. But this is a very simple way to do it. So it jumps across the screen, and then of course you still have your arrow keys. So that's a way to have your user be able to move your sprite across the screen in different ways.